Hello, my name is Doreen, and this video is about how you can import a JSON file into Business Central. We can use the dummy REST API example.com. There they are providing some examples that we can use. So if we use the employees, then we see that we have some information available for multiple employees like name, salary, age, and so on. So first of all, in the Visual Studio Code, we are creating a table which will contain our future data. We create, by using a snippet, we create a table called employees import table. We use an ID accepted for our solution, for our app, then we give the name, and then we just want to get rid of the unnecessary properties or triggers that the template is providing. So we are just left with the fields and keys area. So we have to define the fields that we need. First, we need the primary key field, which is the number. This one will have the property auto increment true. So we just want to make sure that as we are inserting data in the background, the system will take care to auto increment the value from this field. Then we need also corresponding fields regarding the other data that will describe the employee. So the employee name, the employee salary, and the employee age. So each one of those will have a different data type. The employee name will have a text type data, will be a text type data. Then salary will be decimal, and employee age will be like maybe integer data type. Okay, so basically the key of the field is the number. This is the unique value that we will have to describe our data. And after creating the table, of course, we need to create a page. We need to create this page so that we can see what data we have. So once we import it, we are able to view it. So for this, we define a new file in our project. We use the snippet again to create the page. It will be a list type page that we are using. And we give again the ID that is accepted for our range. Then we give the name, the unique name of this page. We define the source table. The table that we just created will be the source for this page. And then in the layout section, in the repeater section, we will put the fields. So the fields from the table. So first it's the number, then we have the name, then we have the salary and the age. So those will be the columns of our page. So we are taking those from the record, that is the source table. The record is the table that is the data that is loaded inside the page at runtime. So we are mapping those to the data that will be contained by the page. Then we are deleting some unnecessary things. We will not add any fact boxes, so we are removing that part. And then in the actions area, we just want to define a new action. Get employees is a good name for this. And we define properties related to this action being promoted. So just when we open the page, we want to see the action in the ribbon. So for this, we are just assigning the promoted category. Promoted is big properties. Then in the action trigger, we will leave it as it is for the moment because we still need to implement some logic. So from the action, we will actually call a code unit. We are defining this code unit in a new file. It will be called employee import management. And this code unit will actually contain all the data all the code that is required to process the data. So we are creating one global function. This global function we will be able to call from outside. And in this function, we need to define some variables that we will use. So local variables of this global function will include the HTTP client, the HTTP response. We will also define some JSON specific variables so that we can process the data. So we have the client, the response, JSON object. We will also need a JSON array. and also we need a JSON token. Okay, so the token can be anything. So it's like a wildcard, so it can be an object, an array, a value. So it will be very interesting to use it. Then we will define a list of keys that we will need, because the data in JSON, we can look at it as a dictionary type data. So you have a key and you have the corresponding value for that key. So we need a link from the dummy REST API example.com. We are using the client, HTTP client, to call this link, and then as we are calling it, we will get the response back in the HTTP response message variable. So right from the start, I would like to make like a small check. If the response is having a good status, like 200, then we can further proceed. But if the response is not okay, then we just want to throw an error saying, okay, it was unsuccessful. So if still the response is okay, then we just want to read the response as a text content. So for this, we did not yet define a variable in this function, but we will define it now. So text response is a text type variable. Okay. So then with this text, first let's just print it for testing purpose. We just want to see it's there, that it's containing the data that we want. And then after printing through the message, we will load this text inside a JSON object. So we use that by using we do that by using the function read from. Okay, and then the lkeys variable will be the values of this JSON object. Okay, so then what we have to do, we have to iterate through this object. You've seen that the JSON object contains more like levels. It's structured in levels. So we have like a JSON object can contain a value, like a property. It can contain like something like another JSON object, or it can also contain an array, and the array again can contain something else. So we already know the structure of the JSON that we want to import. First, we use a token. So we are basically taking each row from the JSON, and we are storing it in like this token. And we are just checking if this token is a value, like it's can be a field from the employee entity, then we just want to print it. But maybe if it is an array, and we know it's an array, we also have an array in this object, then we just want to check if this array is containing objects as well. So if this array is containing like an object, then we need to treat that separately. So for each token that would be in the array, we will just need to check what type it is again. So if this token is a object, so if this array is containing objects, and at this place in our iteration we find an object, then we just want to start processing it. So we will create a new function, a local function called process JSON object, and we are sending this token that we are having at the moment. Okay. Otherwise, if it's not an object, then we can print it. So we just want to see the value of it. So the printing part, the messages part, is just for testing purpose, for us to easier see how this is working. So of course you wouldn't do this in a production project. So if you're like programming for some project, then you will not do this, but it's just for us to have like some test. Okay, so we define this new function to process the objects of type JSON, and this will be a local procedure because it will always be called from the global function that we defined, so no need to make it global. And this function is taking a JSON token as parameter. Of course, that in this function, in order to process, we will need like other variables, like another JSON object variable. We need a JSON token so that we make the iteration. We need the keys that are contained in the further to be processed JSON object. And I'm also using an object keys variable to define a list of text values. Of course, not last but not the least, we need the employee import table, the table we just defined, so that we can import data into it. So first thing to do, we know that we are calling this local function only if we have a JSON object. So we're transferring this object from a token to a JSON object type variable, and we are getting the keys from this JSON object. By having the keys, then we can make the iteration and we can process accordingly. So for each object key that we have, we are doing some processing. First, if we are getting the key, I mean we're getting the value of the pair key and basically the value. So if this is like a value, then we want to make some processing. So we are doing it in a case statement. It's much easier this way. So depending on what we have in the JSON key, we can assign it to a field from our database, from our table. So we have employee name, employee salary, employee age, and also we have the ID. We will not be importing the ID. So if we have the current key is the ID, then we just want to make sure that we are creating a new line inside the employee import table. So we do that by init and make an insert. This will trigger the auto increment. Then if the key will be employee name, then we can just simply assign. Employee name is a text type, data type. So it's the text type field, so we can just assign, we can just convert the token as value as text, so then we can directly assign. However, for the other keys like employee salary, employee age, we will have to use the evaluate function, because you remember salary is a decimal type and age is a integer type. So we use the evaluate function will just convert the value from a text type to decimal or integer. So just for this, for the salary we use the evaluate to obtain the value, but for age again we use the evaluate, and we do one more thing, we just modify the data from the table. Employee age is the last field that we want to import, so then it makes sense to also modify so that we keep all those values into our row. We go back to the page, and in the page we define a local variable for the new code unit that we created, and we in the begin end section where we basically place the code, we call the global function from this code unit. Okay, so the last thing that is left to do is to go into the launch.json file, and startup object ID will be our new page. So then when we are running the solution, we will just see our new page. So nothing is there for the moment, but we use the get employees function. We see the JSON as text, the data as text, and then we have all the data inside our new table. So I hope you enjoyed, I hope you find it useful, and if so, then please leave me a comment in the comment section, and see you next time with a next topic. Bye bye.